This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to episode 239 of This is the G Podcast. Yes. What's up, y'all? You know, each week we do news, politics, pop culture, that piping hot tea from the one and only Tonya B, who is in the building. Tonya B, Talib, Shabazz is in the building. And you know, before we get rolling, you know what kind of week it's been. I don't have to tell everybody, but I do want to start with this. Here we go.
It was a very hard hit.
That's Governor Brian Kemp. The death toll from Hurricane Helene is now 33, according to NBC. Most of those killed were in the southeast, 15 in Georgia.
I would ask all Georgians, like the Kemp family's doing, to keep these folks and these communities in your thoughts and prayers.
Valdosta was hard hit, according to the governor.
115 structures that are heavily damaged, that we know there are multiple people trapped inside.
2 people were killed by a possible tornado in South Georgia before 11 p.m. According to the Wheeler County Sheriff's Office, a likely tornado picked up a mobile home near Highway 19 and Adams Cemetery Road. A man and woman were in the mobile home.
Yeah, so you've got about 400,000 in Florida still without power. It went up. Well, you know, of course, I mean, it went straight through the state of Georgia into North Carolina. You've got Asheville took a big hit. I think North Carolina has about 700,000 currently without power as we tape. And the, you know, South Georgia really took a hit. You had nearly right now, as of our taping, 100,000 in Lowndes County. I'm sorry, 100% of Lowndes County, Georgia, which is Valdosta, is without power. And basically that was primarily due to winds and, you know, not necessarily as much of a surge, water surge, but wind. So, you know, real quick, I'll start with you, Tonya B. What about you? Because you're like in the heart of downtown Atlanta.
I was really surprised that at least where I am in the northeast, Old Fourth Ward part of Atlanta, that there wasn't more damage. A lot of flooding. You know, a lot of people who had done any major landscaping are going to have to do it over again because it is rolling down the river like Ike and Tina, I'm telling you. No need to go to the car wash this week. I know not for me. You know, and what's interesting is that I live 2 blocks from Georgia Power headquarters. And for the 14 years I've lived in this area, only had 1 power outage due to someone hitting a pole with a car accident. But I don't know if it's because Georgia Power is still here, but we had no power outages at all.
Yeah, I got you.
A lot of wind. I live around a lot of old, big southern trees, and you know that's always a concern. You saw what happened on the downtown connector. You saw what happened, you know, all the way down to Peachtree City. What happened to those folks in Buckhead? But here's one thing I don't understand, Tommy.
Buckhead, they were
white. They were
using boats.
Yeah.
To get people out. But go ahead.
I don't understand. When they tell you stay off the road, like when the tree fell on the downtown connector, why are people out there driving like the road is dry and, you know, like nothing's going to happen, like the tree almost isn't there, and it took out 4 of the 5 lanes. And then the people up there in Buckhead and Peachtree Park Apartments, they tell you stay in your house, but all of a sudden, the minute, you know, WSB rolled up, they all want to be on television. Never forget, there was this, you know, people got rescued in the, you know, the boat, a lady that was pregnant, and, you know, some older people had some health, you know, mobility issues. But why did Watermelon Drea have to come down there, and it's 72 degrees outside, in a winter parka with full hood up and on to be on television? Like, you're jeopardizing your safety. There's a reason why they tell you to stay inside. They could, you know how deep the water was, right? There were cars that were just like up to the roof. So you don't know if you have some down power lines there, but you want to be on television. Okay.
But you know how it is, Tonya B. It's the one person they shouldn't go to.
Well, they went to Watermelon Drea.
They go to
Watermelon Drea.
Hey, you know what? That is the news mantra. We're not going to go to the one who really knows what's going on.
No.
Hey,
go ahead, Talib. Talib, what about you, man? What about you?
Well, I'll tell you, I was actually working in Savannah all week. So when the storm hit, you know, it was like, okay, do I chance it? Do I come home Thursday night? And yeah, it was just so I rode the storm out in Savannah, and coming up I-16 from Savannah to Macon was literally like a winding path on the expressway of just downed trees.
Yeah.
I think there were some parts where, basically I was going basically like 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour. Just why, going because it's like, there's some trees are falling from the left side, some trees are falling from the right. So you're just on the expressway, doing the snake dance thing, I've never seen so many highway signs down before in my life.
Wow.
I mean, whatever came through, I don't know if it was a tornado, if it was a direct hurricane, or if it was just remnants from the wind. But, South Georgia's a mess.
Yeah, it is. And, of course, our prayers to those folks and for those folks. And definitely if there's an opportunity for you to volunteer, give, definitely I'll put the information on the podcast. But you'll hear it in your local news, local broadcast. Definitely, if you can give to those folks, because they definitely are going to need it. Just be careful about giving to a lot of these big charities that, basically take out so much before it gets to the place. If you can give something that goes direct, you're in a better situation, and so are those folks in terms of getting everything soon.
Go to you.
Real quick, I'll go to you, and you end it, Talib. We got to go into a couple more things. I'll give you one more word, Tonya B, and we'll close. Go ahead.
Go reach out to your local churches. They usually have a direct line to the people that are in the most need. I would just say, check on your neighbors and check. I did some of the work I do was Fulton County, checking on the seniors. I had some that had downed trees. I had some that had lost electricity. It can cost you up to $5,000 to get one tree removed.
Yeah, so true. Talib, you got the last word.
Yeah.
Last word.
I just want to say that I was very impressed with the governor's response, having, 1,500 linemen on standby and, having the trucks pretty much ready to go. It's shown that he's grown in his development as a governor, because we're not going to have the same type of craziness that went on like after the ice storms and everything, you know what I mean? So I definitely want to give it up to the state of Georgia for the emergency response. I mean, they literally had people out on the highway as soon as it was light outside, cutting trees and everything. So
good deal.
Credit where credit's due.
I'll give it up to him.
Yeah,
I got you. Good stuff. Thank y'all. Okay, real quick, Tonya B, just in about a minute. And then we'll go into the real, it's all news, but a Diddy update. Give us a Diddy.
Okay, well, we now know, he's in jail. He was in jail with the crypto scam king. Now then they said they moved him over to Newark, and then these lawsuits are flying quicker than trees in a tornado. More women have come forward. One woman came forward and said that he sexually assaulted her, but he left her pregnant. Who she is remains to be seen. Now we're hearing that he will testify, just trying to save himself, but I still believe there are a lot of heads that are going to roll. Then there's allegedly a male sex worker who was involved in one of the freak-offs has come forward and says he has a tape that he has turned over to the feds. And here's one thing I don't understand. But when you're in jail, you don't have a lot of access to a lot of technology and services. I know that people that are incarcerated can get educated, but heck, shouldn't I got a podcast? And here he come on News Nation with Cuomo doing an interview, and
it's amazing.
I'm like, so what kind of, is he really in jail? As they say, so there's that. Then there's some inklings of people being involved. Anybody from that's what gave Justin Bieber a nervous breakdown. And Mary J. Blige is involved. She's not talking. I mean, I think I was actually glad to see the hurricane come because it gave me a break from all the puppy madness. But it never stopped. And he's been dominating the news cycle for over at least the last 14 days. And I'm like,
at least in the southeast, it calmed down a bit. But definitely, everywhere else is still out there. But go ahead.
Then there's one more thing. There was this whole, to do. A lot of these politicians are also, they're lowbrow groupies if you think about it. They want to be all up in the video. They want to be here, there. Allegedly, a lot of politicians are in these freak-off takes. And then you had Mayor Eric Adams in New York who, although Puffy had to pay for it, got the key to the city. Then it was taken back. And now you see, the house of cards of Eric Adams is falling into,
which we're going to go to next.
Okay, his inner circle. But now I heard them allegedly, and I say allegedly,
there may
be a connection, more of a connection between Mayor Adams and Puffy than just that whole key to the city situation. All right, that's
Let's go to clip. Let's go to Mike. Here we go.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been charged with accepting bribes and illegal campaign contributions from foreign sources. In a 5-count criminal indictment, prosecutors allege that before and during his term as mayor, Adams sought and accepted improper valuable benefits such as luxury international travel, including from wealthy foreign business people, and at least one Turkish government official seeking to gain influence over him. Adams maintains he is innocent.
Now, the interesting thing about this is the same DA who did the press conference for Diddy, for you know, and so SDNY, Southern District of New York, is busy. They are working. I don't know if you say hard, but they are leaving no stone unturned. You're talking what, 5 federal public corruption charges going back to 2014. So we're talking a decade. And it claims, you know, of course, like Mike said, the illegal campaign contributions from the Turks, all the travel. I mean, they went into detail. It was about a 20-minute press conference. I watched it and, you know, talked about the lavish trips, you know, but in a nutshell, this is all about influence peddling. But I agree. I tend to, you know, and allegedly, I tend to agree with you to some extent, Tonya B. The timing is odd. Don't you think? I mean, if you're talking about, he just did the press conference for Diddy, same guy, different, you know, panel of folks working on the case, but he's up front. I mean, he's coming, okay, did the Diddy, now the Eric Adams. You know, it's a 57-page indictment, all the details, and Adams is basically telling y'all, or telling the city of New York to, hey, hold on judgment until I tell my side of the story, because you'll get to hear the whole thing. I'm going to start with you, Talib, and I'll go to Tonya B. But Talib, I mean, you've lived in New York. You know the New York vibe. I mean, there were people, as he was doing the press conference, I don't know if you saw his press conference, just a brief press conference after this. They were heckling the crap out of, I mean, they were like, dude, I mean, it was like a bad, I don't know.
Well, he's
a bad open mic at the Comedy Store.
Yes, right. It was like Showtime at the Apollo gone wrong.
So Jekyll got heckled, huh? Is that what we saying?
What would you say? What'd you call it?
Jekyll got heckled. Look, you know, and the word is not working hard; it's working tirelessly. That's the Biden word. So you know about the Israel thing. So we're going to use that one for everything. It's no longer working hard; it's working tirelessly.
Right. There you
go. So you know, in terms of the Puffy thing, you know, what we have to remember is that this is a guy who has been, you know, very well publicized, very well connected in the music industry for, you know, 30-something years. So everybody's going to have a picture with him. Everybody is going to be connected to him in some way or another if you're in the industry, because you're in the industry.
Yeah.
You know, the public persona and the private persona are two totally different things. The public persona is the guy who shows up to Conan O'Brien, to Ellen DeGeneres, you know, the guy who shows up to the Grammy party. The public persona is what we're finding out about now. And it's not a nice guy. The public persona, I mean, the private persona has been proven to not be a nice guy. So this is what we are facing. This is what we're dealing with. Now, in terms of, you know, so we have to recognize that just because you went to a Puffy party doesn't necessarily mean that you went to a freak-off. Because there were plenty of things happening.
And let me say this.
Nightclubs.
They were separate.
Let me just mention this real quick. They showed the Puffy. It was Puffy back then. The invite that went out where you had all the celebrities who cut like a maybe 5-10 second clip, and it was everybody in the industry, pretty much.
Right.
You know. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Talib. People have to understand. Well, I think most people do at one point. The facade is, hey, I'm mainstream.
Right. Now,
but the real is kind of sinister.
Exactly.
But go ahead.
Yes, I definitely, but knowing who Eric Adams is and his role, and the fact that he's still kind of a hood cop mayor, there's definitely going to be some influence peddling going around just in the New York scene, because that's what they do. It's not uncommon for any group. It's just that for some reason, he didn't pick AIPAC. Eric Adams wouldn't have had no problem if it was AIPAC that was doing the influence peddling. You know what I mean? If it was
Talib's gonna get it in.
Of course, every time. You know what? Every time. Because they got to stop. They have to stop.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
you got to ask, what's the difference?
Right. So let's talk about it, because now we have Egypt trying to being caught with influence peddling. And that guy, I can't remember the congressman's name from New York who got.
Was it, no, not Menendez. Menendez is New Jersey, I think.
Right, New Jersey. But I mean, Egypt has already been having some influence peddling. Now it's Turkey that's coming into the scene. And everybody. But what is the main difference between what they're doing and what AIPAC is doing?
Yeah. And I'll mention this, Talib. One thing we have to, in all fairness, and all I'm saying is ask the question, is disclosure, primarily. If you disclose, it's basically not illegal as long as you're disclosing it.
Right.
Accepting and disclosing. And when you accept up to the limit and not above the limit. Mm-hmm. I think the issue, not think, right, I know based on these alleged, these charges, what's alleged is it's well above what's acceptable.
Right.
And disclosure.
Right.
Is the problem.
Right.
So, you got to be smart enough to disclose and keep it to the minimum.
Right.
I do agree. So before I start kind of poking that bear and going there, I agree.
Yeah.
But I think you have to ask how dumb, because let me give you an example. He, I guess, accepted a lavish trip. I mean, they're talking about the seats on the plane were like $40,000 each, something like this, crazy. And basically, he had already accepted it. He sent like a fake email to an assistant and said, I left cash in your drawer to pay for this trip I just took. Basically as a way for the feds to find the email and say cash so you couldn't trace it. You know what I mean? So he was doing a lot of stuff to cover up what he knew was wrong. And I mean, we got to hear his side of the story. I agree. I'm gonna go to you real quick, Tonya B, and I'll let you wrap it, Talib. Tonya B, what are your
Well,
thoughts
just one thing we have to think about is, these people, they get these campaign fundraisers, and they I don't know that they pay as much attention as they should. They just know the money's coming in, the money's coming in, the money's coming in, the money's coming in. And one person I think that that may end up being one of the sacrificial lambs is Eric Adams' main campaign fundraiser, who's a young woman of color. I think they're going to start to rake her through the coals because, if you're the number one, the major fundraiser, where the money came from. So, what is her level of accountability? And, did she turn over all the money that came in? Because sometimes people like that, they get a commission. I bring you so much, I get this much. And not always being mindful of any repercussions or consequences when you look at where it came from.
There are a lot of people who resigned.
Yeah. She was a consultant. So I don't know if they went and raided her house. I don't know if they took her phone and her devices and things like they did with the other people. I understand up to and including walking up to some of them on the street and saying, give me your phone.
Yeah.
But, we have to, and it's a shame. Again, she's a, young woman of color, very intelligent. I can't think of her name. But, okay, was she the only one, or is she being put on Front Street because she's the person of the black and brown persuasion who's a female? How is she going to defend herself? And I just hope, it doesn't have some repercussions on, for her professionally that may be beyond repair, because she's kind of like, what do you call accessory?
Okay, I'm going to go to you, Talib, real quick and wrap it up on Eric Adams.
Yeah, so just a couple things. I'm not really sure who pumped up this super cop to really let him think that his pay grade was high enough to achieve this mayor of the city,
Yeah.
But when we look at, the last 2 black mayors of New York City, and we do a quick compare contrast, I come from the days of Dinkins.
Mm-hmm.
And Dinkins was a guy who was coming in after Ed Koch, and there was just, it was almost like Dinkins was too afraid to mess up. You know what I mean? So there were things that he didn't do, and the way he maneuvered was because he was being extra careful, And then we have...
you're right, because he was black.
Right. And now we have somebody who's being extra reckless, because from the way that some of the things that I've also heard is the influence peddling was not just turkey to him, but it was also, there might even be some cases of people, trying to do business with the city who fell victim to influence peddling, for access to Mayor Adams as well. So when we start peeling back all these layers, once again, we're going to have to really follow the money to see who is really profiting, because there's a lot of corruption happening, and I don't know if it's just the times that we're in, or if the attentions are being manipulated to shine the light on specific peoples. But yeah, we're in a very, very corrupt time period right now when it comes to the politics.
And you know what? I hate that, because, of course, I'm not a citizen of New York. I can't vote, but I was really hoping that Maya, what's her name? She was on. She ran against him, and she's anchor, or not an anchor, but she's one of the contributors on MSNBC. Woman with the braids who had been a district attorney in the city, ran.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name.
She's very, very.
Yeah, she's on it.
Oh, she is on it. And I hate about hearing this is the way he won. He put all the good, in my opinion, the good people for the city at a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
And we're finding it out.
Right.
So, there are a lot of people, I think, in the city who regret the vote for this guy.
Yeah.
And they're saying, I should have voted for her.
Right. Right.
So hopefully, when what this does is put her back in a position where she can run again and clean this up, because I think she will clean this up.
Yeah.
I think she will. I think she will. Well, we'll kind of keep everybody posted. I know it's not, it's part of, we've got good friends in New York. Mm-hmm. And this is the first time a sitting mayor in New York has been indicted.
Right.
So this is going to be interesting. This is going to be big news. And again, it's interesting because he may also allegedly, like Tonya B said, who knows if there may be some connection to Diddy. But we'll see. We'll find out. All right, y'all. Hey, one more thing before we really get into not two more things. I want to start with this first.
Georgia's state election board has approved a controversial rule that will require all ballots be hand counted at each polling location, which critics say will likely delay election results. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger has joined critics by voicing the concern that the rule changes could cause confusion and chaos on election night.
I just want to say one word: MAGA. and this is what concerns me about this. And it happened, as a matter of fact, we could have had it on our last show, but I wanted to wait until all the information came in. This is going to be a mess, considering, we just, all these states are going over to these voting machines. So now you're going to second guess the computers. And you're also going to have people in districts who are loyal or possibly loyal to this whole MAGA thing, hand counting. So I've got, even Raffensperger is against it. A lot of state officials. This is not a situation where it's partisan. There's a bipartisan concern about hand counting the vote. It's gonna delay the vote. It's also, who knows? There are a lot of ways the vote can be manipulated when you put humans and when you involve hand count.
That's true.
I'll go to you, Tonya B, and then
And then you look at all the people that have been purged off of the voting rolls without their knowledge. Now you look at all the people, and this is the reality of what else is going to happen. You have that. I look at me. My voting place in the last year has changed not one, not two, but 3 times.
Yeah. But you know, I'll say this, Tonya B. This is, in my opinion, and I say this to our audience and the folks who listen to the podcast, this says to me, you better vote early. Do not vote day of, because these folks are going, I mean, you know, early vote, at least there may be something within that rule which will allow people, as the votes are already tallied, the early vote, because in a lot of cases the early vote's already tallied. It gives them enough time. Day of, night of, they're going to be rushed. There's not going to be enough time. I would not be voting day of. I'd make sure you get your vote in early. Yeah.
You know, they decreased the window for early voting.
Yeah.
And you remember the last time they wanted to cut out the weekends, Warnock went to court and they opened it. So also let people know, you know, again, not only do they check your polling place, because, you know, and just don't think because you voted last month or last year, you voted for dog catcher or city council, that everything is you know, as it should be. You know, even though I know where I am, I'm still checking my voting status. That's so important. It seems trivial, but it's very important. The other thing is, you know, don't vote too early. I mean, like allegedly with a lot of seniors will do the mail-in votes, you know. They're going to count them by hand as well. That should be interesting. But just make sure, you know, and there aren't as many places to early vote. Yeah. And, you know, and again, as I said, the window for early voting, it went from like 5 weeks down to like 2 weeks.
Well, I'm just saying every vote hand counted is going to be a mess.
We won't get the election results until Thanksgiving.
Well, that's going to be, and that's what I'm talking about, because, well, you know, I'm not going to disparage any of the workers. I mean, they work hard. A lot of them are volunteers, you know, but there's some counties, you know.
Yeah, there's some, like in Fulton, you have to actually go through training, you know, and they assign you based on, you know, your level of knowledge and experience. But like you said, when you get to those little, like, you know, Marjorie Taylor Greene,
I know.
You know,
up in Dalton, Rome.
Right. Or even where they had the school shooting.
Mm-hmm.
You see how tiny it is there.
Yeah.
And, you know, they just need bodies because there aren't that many people. So, yeah, but here's what's going to happen. I know it's a MAGA thing, but, you know, for me, and this is just my personal opinion, the joy for me would be, but yeah, you're going to elongate and try to say this, you know, the tampering and all this, whatnot. But, you know, Kamala still will become victorious, and then, you know, the MAGAs will find another ridiculous reason to say the election was rigged. It's like at what point, you know, they don't, but at what point you just go somewhere and sit down.
But I do think, and I'm going to go to you, Talib, I do think the challenge here, it gives them suspicion. It allows them to plant seeds of suspicion into their followers. And I can already see this coming. You know, the polls have been, it's a tight race. You know, a lot of the polls are leaning toward Kamala, but, you know, the battleground states, it's still a battleground. But I will say, you know, when these kind of things are happening, you know, I would understand if they weren't trying to make this change in the middle of an election cycle. But we are a month out. And my whole thing, why would you do this a month out? These people have not had an opportunity to train. You know, so immediately I went to, they're trying to cast doubt even more. And I'm gonna go to you, Talib, on this, and we got one more thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, who the heck changes electoral policy within a 3-month period before the election? You know, as I was listening to NPR, you know, talking about this story, you know, that's what the main thing that they were talking about. They're saying that this sets a precedent, you know, because, you know, legally there have been cases where, you know, dirty tricks have been tried close to an election, and the Supreme Court, you know, did not allow these types of things to happen. This decision hasn't been challenged by the Supreme Court. But if you've got the Secretary of State and the governor saying, yo, this is whack, then
it's a bad idea.
I mean, come on, then it's a bad idea, literally. Even though it's in their favor, and it's not just I don't think it's I don't think it's just a casting doubt thing. I think it's a fear thing. Like I'm trying to instill this fear in you, where it's going to also try to mobilize people to move in a certain manner.
Yeah, it's almost like fear of and the fear being the fear of the machines.
Exactly.
Fear of the voting machines.
Yeah. Or even just as like well, there it's it's a doubt and it's a fear to me.
Yeah. I got you. All right, y'all. Hey, last thing, and then we'll get to your topics for the week. I do want to kind of weigh in on this.
Superstar Janet Jackson just did a wide-ranging interview with British newspaper The Guardian, but most of the focus is on when she was asked her thoughts on VP Kamala Harris possibly become the first black female president. She said she answered by saying that she had heard that Harris's father was white, which we all know is false. Janet Jackson is not a political animal.
Yeah.
She's a musician. Her life is doing this, and she's mourning her brother. I sometimes have said stuff, and I was wrong. We all do it. So okay, a little grace for the girl.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go to you. Let me start with you, Tonya B. Grace for Janet. Just say it. Just go for it.
I was Patty Webster. If Patty Webster were alive, she was Janet's powerhouse PR. Patty Webster wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah.
Because I've interviewed Janet, and they've been either on the phone or in the room. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about that. Don't say this. Don't say that. And now I think part of the problem is, she's ill-informed. So if you're ill-informed, just be quiet. That's the reality. Just be quiet. Number one. Number two, now, if she's rolling with Randy, who we know is about 10 cents short of a nickel most times, and he's in charge of everything. So my question is, who let this happen? And I think the thing that got me, and I know she's human, and people have, made missteps and said things, but why do you have a representative for Janet apologizing for her? This child is very capable of opening up her mouth and saying, I misspoke, I was wrong, why that wasn't happening. And then when the young man that did that,
they fired him.
Well, yeah, Randy, got a bee in his bonnet, and then he fired him. But I'm like, Janet doesn't have the machine around her or behind her like she used to.
Yeah.
And, I don't know that there's, I'm not into excuses because she's 54 years old. Come on. If you're in the music world, stay over there in your lane. If you don't read the news, then don't talk about that. Like I say, I heard. I'm like, I heard. Okay, who did you hear it from?
Yeah.
That's like they say, who in the Sam Hell Hill is they? And, Randy is in control and he doesn't need to be. Janet, I just feel like she needs to be accountable for what she said. I know she's human, and it's not the first time. But after we've been rocking with her and defending her since 2003 with Nipplegate, and then she turns around talking about what I heard, and it was almost like the Guardian. Those people, they baited her, and she fell for it.
Yeah.
So I think that. She's rocking with Randy, and he's not going to be fired because the two of them are sticking together.
Family. Yeah.
I get it, but it doesn't always mean that they're qualified. And we know Randy. Anyway,
I'm gonna stop you there and go to Talib. I'll come back to you.
Say something. Okay.
Go ahead, Talib.
No,
go ahead, Talib.
I'm good.
So Tonya, hold on. You are you saying Randy and the Gypsies did not have just an impressive enough?
Well, they had that one song called "Perpetrator." Need I say any more? A&M Records,
right,
yes. Thank you very much. Yeah. He perpetrated.
Right. So, look, the way I feel.
Oh, you went deep.
Yeah. The way I feel about
that was a deep dive. Go ahead,
you've been living outside of the United States for how long, Janet? you could have said anything at that point, you know, but to say something like, well, I heard she's not black.
Neither were Michael's kids.
Really? That's what Janet Jackson has to come with? I mean, come on, Tonya. Yeah. I'll let you jump in on my time. You know what I mean? But I mean, seriously, it's a conversation.
Talib, join the club.
Hey, look, it's a conversation, you know. But I mean, seriously, the thing is it's, you know, and like you said, you know, like Tonya was saying, you know, Randy Jackson's daughter has even said, you know, I told my dad he's going to be on the wrong side of history. Look, this is just another example of people who are not politically astute trying to have something to weigh in on in a political conversation. It would have been better for her to just say, you know, I don't really know. I've been over here. I haven't been paying attention. I'm not sure what's going on with the candidates. You know, I'm just hoping that the best person wins. And that would have been such a better, that would have been an answer that would have been so much better received.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that the whole sentence made grammatical sense, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like, come on. If you have an opinion, then state your opinion. If you don't have information, then don't state an opinion. I'm not sure. I will get back to you. That's the way I handle people on the job site. That's how I handle students. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Janet, you know, thanks, Talib. I mean, I agree with you on that point, man, because for me, I've never viewed the Jacksons as this powerhouse of, how do you say it, weighing in on anything relating to I guess outside of, I don't remember Janet doing anything outside of the Rhythm Nation album addressing issues. You know what I'm saying? I mean, when it came down to, you know, some of the songs on the Rhythm Nation album, you know, but for the most part, I mean, I've never really heard outside of Michael. They don't really care about us, black and white. You know, Michael was probably a little bit more socially conscious. But outside of that, I don't know of any other Jackson in the family that has ever showed me any level of social consciousness. So when it comes down to it, when I heard, I said, I don't care. I love artists who speak out, who are well informed. I love that. Even going back to, you know, black artists, white artists. I remember when, and I'm just going off the cuff here, when the interview with David Bowie and MTV, and David Bowie started calling out MTV for not playing black artists, and I'm like, oh shit, this dude. I admire them more when they're informed. But I it's always bothered me to some extent, because sometimes the Jacksons are airheads outside of Michael. I'm just going to be straight up, you know. Huh?
Sometimes, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying. So for me, when I didn't know if it was intentional or if it's just, okay, here's another airhead comment. Because, you know, we've seen it. I mean, not just her, but there are a lot of, you know, our celebrities who just go there, who are just in that realm of airheadedness. So I have to say that, yeah, you have to consider the source. When I first saw it, the first thing I said is, somebody asked me, I said, consider the source. Let's just move on. There's nothing to condemn here. There's nothing to cancel here. You know, I don't remember her saying anything since Rhythm Nation. So let's just consider the source. You're absolutely right, Talib. She hadn't been living in the country. So let's leave it at that. I agree with Whoopi to a certain extent. Grace might be too heavy a word. Maybe just say ignore it and keep moving. If you're a fan, you're a fan. All right, Talib, you were holding up your finger.
Yeah, I just want to say that, you know, the propaganda outside of the United States as to what is happening inside of the United States is, you know, a 7.5 on the Richter scale.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have people from Kenya, you know, from the Caribbean, from South America who call me and, you know, they start asking questions about things that are happening here in the United States. And I'm like, where are you even?
Send them the podcast.
Yes, right. And I'm like, where are you hearing this stuff? You know what I mean? So the propaganda machine is in effect. Once again, somebody who's not politically astute weighing in politically is another factor of this whole thing. Really, the whole thing can be summed up by just, look, folks, get educated. Get educated on what's going on around you. If and if you're not going to be educated, then just be ignorant to it. There's nothing wrong with being ignorant to a specific subject. Until you show your ignorance.
Good point. Hey, Tonya B, I'm gonna let you wrap us up with your 1 minute. What you got?
Okay, 1 minute. I just want to say, anybody who saw Prince sign the Times, or anybody knew Cat, we need you to rap Cat Glover, who was a choreographer, singer, songwriter, from those 80s Prince times. She passed away, only 60 years old. That's very young. I would tell I love a good documentary. I've been telling you about the documentaries. Luther's Never Too Much hits theaters again on November 1st. But this week it was revealed that Questlove, the Roots crew, I think, does an amazing job with documentaries. Is now working on one on Earth, Wind, and Fire, and that should be very, very interesting. It's so interesting how all this stuff's talking about these alleged Trump shootings. But is anybody even talking about? I know I'm just straying for a second. The fact that Kamala's campaign office got shot up. Nobody's talking about that. So,
didn't hear that one.
Exactly. Well, nobody talked about the fact that for the first time a black man won the Tour de France. Nobody's talking about that. Everything. It's just all the other ridiculous.
Definitely didn't hear that one.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. But you know what? Let me say, since that whole Lance Armstrong fiasco, the tour has really taken a hit. Yeah. I mean,
big time.
It gets no publicity because of that whole drugging scandal. It took a lot of folks down. But go ahead.
And, this whole thing with Beyonce being shut out of the CMAs, and the People's Choice had their country awards. She had 16 nominations, they are not giving her a seat at the table, although she keeps trying to come into the room. I'm not mad at her for that, but Shabazz did win Best New Artist. But Beyonce's, doing another collaboration. This one is with Levi's jeans, so look out for your Cowboy Carter jeans, And, she, when it comes to the strategic alliances like that, I think she's very smart about that. Fat Man Scoop, the DJ that passed away a couple weeks ago, they said he had a heart attack, but he also had really acute heart disease and high blood pressure, and he had gotten no treatment, and that's what took him out at the young age of 53. You may have seen that T.I. and Tiny won this $17 million lawsuit with this OMG Girls doll situation. And, they won that. What they're going to get remains to be seen. But what's interesting is, you look at, how we came up with our grandparents and our elders. And now you look at people like T.I. and Tiny who are about to be grandparents for the third time. And it's like, he just turned 44. But it is what it is. Mary J. Blige has a lot of good stuff going on. And I really hope that she doesn't get entangled in all of this Puffy mess. Just because she was in a picture with Puffy and Cassie or Puffy and Kim does not mean that she was down to the freak off. October 19th, she gets inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's going on a gratitude tour. She says she's I guess maybe making enough money to pay off her ex-husband, Ken Don't. And she's doing a gratitude tour that starts later this year too with Neo and nasty Neo, but and Mario. And I just want to say, 5 on it to Cat Williams. Did he not say in 2024 a lot of things are going to be revealed? And it's like the things Cat just touched on are coming true.
Been a mess.
After the bidding war, Netflix won the rights to the 50 Cent documentary. Now it's not coming out until December because, again, there's so much more stuff that has come to light. But 50 getting ready to make a whole lot of money.
Oh yeah.
He really is. And, I'm telling you, I'm getting my snacks for that one. I'm not fronting. I'm getting it's going to probably end up being like, Surviving R. Kelly. It's going to be more than 2 hours. And it's interesting where Harvey Levin keeps throwing together, these documentaries with stock footage, but it's, the same thing. He puts it on Tubi because we could put the podcast on Tubi, anything, and it's owned by Fox. But He's trying to, make a few coins here and there, but, I'm just kind of tired of it. I'm really tired of it. And everybody just go sit down. And it's really, there hasn't been much, real news because he's just been dominating the news cycle. But I think people are getting tired of it too. I know I am. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, I agree. I'm tired. Talib, you tired? You tired of Puffy? And I'm gonna let you get into your 1 minute.
Been tired, bro.
I'm tired.
Been tired. Been tired.
Go ahead and jump.
It's the 90s.
Go ahead and jump in.
He's
man.
never been safe.
What's your last?
Well, two things real quick. Decatur is definitely not Atlanta. When I tell people that, even though Decatur is a sister city to Atlanta, but it's a different breed of folks. Javon J. Owens, 23 years old, was charged with first-degree attempted murder after he got into a dispute over a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on September 15th, the DeKalb County Daily Chronicle reported. The witness told DeKalb Police that Owens and another man argued about the victim not cleaning up after themselves, whereupon Owens swung a butter knife and struck the other man. The victim was seen at a local hospital, but had to be transported to Chicago for further treatment of a punctured intestine. He said he believed 100% that Owens would kill him.
Good Lord.
DK.
He stabbed him with a butter knife.
With a butter knife.
Good
So
over
really it wasn't over a PB&J, it was over you cleaning up after you made a PB&J. But still, it's like, Decatur.
What is that? Decatur.
But I also...
Where's greater?
Right. But, also in other news, the former CIA director, his name, but definitely called the Israeli strike with using the cell phones and pagers, or walkie-talkies and pagers, terrorism.
Yeah.
And
was that Brennan?
That was Brennan.
That wasn't Brennan.
Yeah.
That was Brennan who said that?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that.
Outrageous. What?
Yep.
And you got to think, he's like, yo, this opens it up to the supply chain.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I mean, come on.
Anything, and you got to keep in mind, I mean, a lot of our goods are made, especially a lot of the electronics are made overseas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy. What happened with the situation in Lebanon, they had a contractor who was working as a third party with the company overseas who made the walkie-talkies and the pagers. So it wasn't, they didn't do that internally. It was shipped in like that.
Right. So,
I mean, and that's why I said, on the last episode, this can happen in any country.
Yes.
I mean, it's just it's a roadmap now. It's a blueprint.
Right.
And that's what makes this worse.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's bad. You got anything else?
That's it for this week.
Okay. I gotta just say, and I hate Vi's not on the podcast this week, but he's dealing with some outer band situations from Helene, which knocked a couple of his I guess his internet providers out. So I do have to say, just shout out to Georgia Bama this week, man. And I will say this, man, for Carson Beck versus Milroe, these two quarterbacks, and this airs after the game, but we tape before the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go out and say that this is going to be really going to prove who's going to get the Heisman, in my opinion. And I think Beck's in trouble. That's all Carson Beck, UGA, is in trouble. That's my prediction, and y'all will know that after. I mean, when this airs, you'll know whether or not I was right. But I just had to say that. I was hoping Vi was here so I could needle him just a little bit. But anyway,
psychic T. Psychic
there you go.
T.
Psychic. Speaking of psychic, man, I will say the shout out, and I caught on to the show late. If anybody watches Evil, used to be on CBS, went over to Paramount. What a show. I did not realize it was as good as it is. It is it's basically my man from Coulter, who was in what's the Netflix superhero, black superhero, Luke Cage. He played Luke Cage. Okay.
Oh, him. Yeah. He was on The Good Wife too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's by the same. It's by the same people who actually wrote The Good Wife. It's the same.
Oh wow.
The same producers, the same writers. And I just finished it. I just over the storm, I went ahead and binged it, and it's a great binge. If you've already seen it, love your feedback, hit me up, okay? We'd love your thoughts. Go to castropolis.net, leave the people poll. Just choose the people poll, leave us a message. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll play back the best. Don't forget y'all support castropolis.net. Subscribe at castropolis.net. Help us grow. Subscribe and check us out. Thank you so much for sharing. Definitely sharing on TikTok and sharing on YouTube. We really appreciate seeing a lot of growth there. If you've always listened to the show and not necessarily watched, now you can watch us on YouTube, TikTok. Have y'all watched this on YouTube, TikTok, or Spotify?
I've seen it on TikTok, but I haven't seen it on YouTube yet.
YouTube and some TikTok, yes.
Yeah. What do y'all think about the TikTok?
I think it looks good, actually.
Okay,
I'm amazed at how handsome I actually am.
Again, I actually look.
So yeah, we're on TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify video as well. Thank you, Tonya B. Again, appreciate you as always. Thank you.
I gotta say one thing.
I know you always got one thing, but go ahead.
I'm going to say, send a birthday shout out to Kenny Burke. Everybody knows the 5 Stair Steps Ooh Child. He's living in Georgia now, but I got to say to him, he wrote one of the most sampled songs, I think, in the last 40 years, and that's Keep Rising to the Top. So happy birthday, Kenny B. Kenny B.
Yep. Talib Shabazz, yes.
I'll give my one last thing. Just say congratulations to Kyle from Jagged Edge. I heard he's tying the knot today. So,
Good
you know,
stuff.
congratulations.
Let's get married. Didn't he do this one? Let's get married.
Yeah,
They gonna play
yes,
that?
exactly.
He's going to do some stuff. That's good.
Hey, I got to shout out real quick, and I got to keep it brief, man. Shout out to Mike Julius. That's my boy. He gave us a call last week. Mike checks out the podcast. I make sure he said hello to you. Definitely, Tonya B. But I will go out on a limb and just say the greatest nighttime talent ever. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, underrated.
Definitely. He ruled DC.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was there. No, he was.
And he ruled Dallas.
And
he was big in the
a great co-worker and a great neighbor. So what's up, MJ?
What's up? Thank you for listening, MJ. And just thanks to all y'all for listening and supporting the G Podcast. And with that, 239 is in the can. Have a great week, y'all. Peace and power to the people.
Fight the power.
You've been listening to This is the G Podcast. And This is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.